Good morning, everyone, on our Facebook Live page. It is Flavia K. Tumusiime's Success versus Greatness interview that is starting in a few minutes. My name is Patricia Mumba, and I'm the founder of Engage, Inspire, and Empower. I feel like for a couple of weeks we've had interviews with the rest of my team, and it feels like I haven't been on a live in a minute. But I decided to come back and do this specific interview at the end of the second edition of Success versus Greatness. It's unreal to think that we're at the end of the second edition when 5, 6 weeks ago we were actually just getting started. So, first thing I want to say is thank you. Thank you to every single person that took time to watch any of these lives, every single person that um, sent us questions, sent thank yous to our speakers. Special shout out to every single speaker that has been on this series, starting with Ben and Rachel Muime, and then we went to Angie Mirembe, Temogere, I won't forget your third name. And then we went on to Omuntuwa Wansi, and then we went on to Eleanor Nawiso, and finally we're closing with Flavia K. Tumusiime. I am really grateful. My team is really grateful that we have been able to do what we are doing right now, touch as many people as we could, but also bring you stories that in a normal day you'd never get to hear, but also stories that can make you regain hope in this year because 2020 has been a very difficult year, but it hasn't been an impossible year. And so I just want to start by saying thank you for that. Um, so for those that have not been to one of these before and wanted to know a little bit about Engage, Inspire, Empower, let me just walk you through what we do. So I personally will.
Your volume is higher. Is that better? Someone could just let me know in the chat. My volume's much better. I think I'll just do it without my headphones. Makes life a little bit easier. There we go. So, Engage, Inspire, and Empower, what do we do? Mainly, we transition immigrants to the education and workforce in America. That is the big idea. What does that look like? For people that are transitioning before they're into college, we're looking at coming here for private school, for regular public school. We help you transition into the school system in terms of getting you ready for SATs, getting you ready for ACTs, getting you ready for testing exams for private schools, adjusting you to the system, right? The Ugandan system is very different from the American school system, and it's a little bit of a jump. So to get you ready for that, we actually do give you kind of the tricks and you know, everything as simple as the language that you need to use to as difficult as how many classes you need to take, which ones you need to take, and how do you get ready for the college process, because the college process in America is a very long process. It's about 8 or 9 months, but it takes about 2 years to prepare for. And so we help you through that. And then people that transition a little later in life, so they come in university, grad school, and even the workforce. So I'll start with people that come in for college and grad school. We will walk you through ACTs, SATs, GMAT, GRE, MCAT, LSAT. I think those are all the like entry exams I can think of for any grad school programs or any college programs. So we help you through that. We get you to take those tests successfully, but that's only one step. Then we have to help you go through the application process to the university that you want. And then after that, we talk about the money, how to pay for school, so scholarships. Some people, you know, how do you ask to take some time off school so you can actually find the funds to fund school? So we do that too. And then the final group is a group that transitions to the workforce here. And I will say in Uganda, because we work with CVs, it's kind of been very difficult for some people to transition from a CV to a resume, because a resume is like one page and that's it. And you talk about practically everything in your life professionally that you have done and hope that a person gives you a job. And so to make the transition can be very difficult. And what we do is we make you represent yourself in the best way possible using a resume. So usually, I mean, the longest resume I've seen is about 2 pages, and this is people with about 15 or 16 years of work experience. But usually they try to keep it on a 1 page, and usually people that are looking through these resumes take about a minute at the most looking at your resume. So we help you look at the best that you can when you're applying to jobs. So that is what we do at Team Engage, Inspire, and Empower. I have an amazing team that works with me. My head of communications is Francis Mumba, who has done some interviews. And then I have my head of logistics, who is Pauline. I have my head of strategy, that's Doreen Subi. She has done an interview before. And then finally, I have my creative director, who is the wonderful Wilson Chisanga. So that's generally the idea behind everyone who's at Engage and my amazing team. So hi, Flavia. I'm glad you could join us. So I'll just give you a minute to test your sound. I was just telling people a little bit about what we do at Engage, Inspire and Empower, and how grateful we are that you're here with us.
Awesome.
So just let me know. Yeah, okay, I can hear you. I was like, you're a little bit loud, but I can hear you. So I'm very excited to be hosting you. I feel like it was a long time when I asked you to do this, but then it also feels like a short time. I don't know how to explain it. It just feels such a quick turnaround, but I know there's a lot of people that are excited to have you. I have so many text messages from people saying, oh, I love Flavia so much, but I never hear from her. And I'm like,
oh,
have
no.
you been on her Instagram? You should just go to her Instagram. She talks to people every day.
Exactly. Can you see me, or should I add more light? I
mean, I can see you just fine. It actually looks good.
Great.
Yeah, you can start by telling us who's the artist of the picture behind you, because it is beautiful.
Thank you, but I won't even take any credit. That was my husband's choice. It was one of our first buys when we were moving in together, married. So that's all him. I have no idea.
Maybe we'll find out someday.
I'll ask him. Yes.
That would be great for sure. So I just wanted us to start off at kind of the beginning, because I think for all the people that I've interviewed for Success versus Greatness, I've always wanted to hear who they were before they got to what we know today, especially people in the media industry. People know you from when they started seeing you on TV, but I want to know from when you were younger. Just walk us through kind of how you got interested in media, how you got the I want to say the confidence to say, you know what, I think I can share myself with the world. So start us there.
Okay, so for me, I started, I did TV at 14, so I can only speak for 0 to 13, or not even all. But I'm probably still an introvert. Many people would not believe that based on the work that I do. I'm an only child. I lost my father at the age of 9, and my mother never remarried, so it's just me. And so for a long time, I was a loner who just really didn't do much. Went to school, came back from school, just sat home, read books. I mean, I did do tennis at some point. I was so convinced Serena Williams had nothing on me. And I thought that would be my career path, be a pro tennis player. Then TV came in. So how TV comes in is because of my childhood, actually. I was always very quiet at home and around adults and never said much, didn't do much, didn't like to be with many people. And my mother was worried that was going to be me forever, just going to be into my books, read and ignore everybody. And she said, no, we've got to get you out, talking to other people. And so in the quest of the something, one of my aunties added that what was then WT and said they're looking for teachers of TV, so could work. And that's how I was convinced to try the audition and go. And the their edition has been that ever since.
It's so interesting that you say that, because I want to say that you might be the first person that I've interviewed that who started TV as a teenager. I think a lot of people start a little later. And so can you walk me through, one, how it felt, kind of, you just said you were an introvert. So that transition from being an introvert to like, now I'm on this platform, I'm being seen a lot more. So how did you make that transition at such a young age? But also, what are the challenges you faced being that young on TV?
To be honest, personality, forgive me, let me do this. I'm in Africa, so we've got to triple check our internet. It should be good in just a few. Is it better now?
Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
So I was, and I'm still an introvert. And because of that, it took me a while to stabilize into my career. Because for a long time, I didn't know how to merge the personality on TV and the true Flavia that I am. And people can see the trajectory of my career, that probably people engage and connect with me a lot now. Yes. Because I have figured it out. I have figured out how to be my true self and also do my job. But for a long time, it was very hard for me because I was very humble in who I was, and I did not like the clout. I did not like the too many people in your business kind of life. And that's what my job was. It was everybody knowing you at the same time and just having an opinion of your life at the same time. And I realized too quickly that I would not be able to come into everybody's home who watched me on TV and say, that's not true, that's a lie, that's not true. Exactly. And so I decided quickly that I was just going to just live my life, okay? Live my life, live my true self. And I think at the time I gave myself 10 years. I think I said, in 10 years, if they don't really truly know me, then I'll stop it. So I said, I'll just be consistent. I'll just show them who I am. And if they don't take it, never mind. So I started to live my life a certain way. I started to run away from certain things. I started to live a life of, a hidden life. When they say like Michael Jackson hid his children and didn't let them go out in the public. That was me. That I would literally go to work, go to school, and go. And when I was home, everything was closed because I just didn't want to interact. I felt like I had done so much and I was suffocated by people's interaction that when I was away from the cameras, I wanted nobody to speak to me. And so, of course, that affects you eventually when you grow up and you realize that affects your relationships, that affects how you talk to people, it affects how you react to things. I had to emotionally heal because of how much torture I had given myself in not interacting with people. So it looks good, but it wasn't all that good, to be honest. There was no guidance, no mentorship, nothing.
I literally was going to go to that next and say, I feel like, because social media is such a big thing right now, people think that when you were getting on TV, that was the same thing, that you could just, see people on YouTube and Instagram and kind of say, okay, so they're talking about this, maybe I can be mentored by that, or maybe they're talking about this, maybe I can be inspired by it. But then it's kind of like you were battling your own battles by yourself, and that's it. That's kind of how, the world looked like then. But you just mentioned mentorship. And I want to say, I bet there's some people that held your hand at some point throughout kind of that transition. So talk to me kind of how you even started reaching out for mentorship, and then how did it look like for you? Like, how did you choose your mentors? How did you finally decide, like, this is the person I think I can trust to understand me as a person, but also guide me?
So I did that the only way that I could back then, because I think probably the only way everybody was doing it back then, the people around you were automatically your mentors.
That's true.
We never imagined that somebody far away, that Oprah could be a mentor, because today, that if you read a book, automatically whoever you just read, the authors become your mentor because in their words, they've guided you in a certain way. We didn't have that kind of knowledge back then. But I remember when I was on TV, he's actually passed. The late Banji was a DJ at Sanyu, and he had an oldies show on WBS TV. So of course he was way older than me, but he really took an interest in me because he had a daughter, and for him, it was almost like seeing his daughter. And so he used to always connect with me. He always used to speak to me and just like, are you fine? Is everything okay? Do you need help? What do you want to know? And so one time I sit him down and I'm like, is this a career? You know, I'm on TV, I'm a teenager. This looks cool right now, but what is it? And he said, listen, the opportunities are endless. You could be this, you could be that, you could go into radio, you could write books, you could have your own TV show. I mean, he painted a picture that looked so good, I was convinced. And I said, so where do I start? And he said, well, for starters, you should do radio because, I mean, once you leave Teens Club, I mean, where else? People have got to see you, people have got to hear you, and that should be your next thing because you're 18. And as you grow in your 20s, you can relaunch and rebrand into everything I've done pretty much was from that conversation with the late Banji. And I took him seriously. I went and did a voice demo, submitted it to Sanyo FM. I was thrown out the window. They said, no, you're terrible. And Radio One actually eventually took me on, and the producers helped me to do voice ads. The only reason I was actually thrown out of Radio One is because the director ended up seeing who I was. So he used to hear my voice doing the ads. And I started 7:30. And so one day he comes into the studio and I have scripts and he says, please get in that awesome voice, Flavia, get her in to do these scripts. Quickly. And the person's like, but she's here. He looks at me, he's like, how old are you? I'm like 18, turning 19. He says, get out.
Yeah, he's like,
get out. And after that, the only other person who took me on who appreciated my voice was Roger Mugisha, who's still in the industry today. Roger Mugisha had a studio at the time and they were doing documentaries and all sorts of scripts. And he said, I like your voice. Okay, I think your voice is awesome. They don't have to know who you are, make some money. And so it was from there that, I kind of built onto it. So it was some industry peers doing their best to sort of pull you in and say, come here, come there, try this, try that. But I don't think there was as consistent mentorship as there is today, because today you can have that consistent mentor or you can have consistent inspiration, which is what I'm trying to be for a lot of young people. We didn't have that then because we had older women in the business and they weren't bothered to look at younger people to pull them up. I mean, they were like, whatever. But maybe the other person who I think helped me because of the proximity and the friendship was Caritas Carrie CV.
Yes.
She still is like family to me because we kind of grew up together, but she was much older and she was in the business. She was on TV. And so she was always like protective and she would give you advice where need be. So that's it really.
It's so it's so interesting when you talk about voice demos, because I was thinking in my head that your voice probably must have been like, it must be something famous that probably now I can't put my finger on it, but just tell me like 2 voice demos you've done that like I should know it's you, but I don't know it's you.
Well, if you're in Uganda, for years, I was the voice of, if you owned a Warid line, Warid was now bought. It became, I think, Zain, then Airtel.
Yeah.
So when they first launched into the country, I was at university and they were looking for a prompt voice. Prompts are welcome to Warid. Press 1 for Luganda. Press 2 for English.
This is so exciting because it sounds like you.
So I read 4,000 scripts in 2 days.
What? Wait, but like, so we had Rachel Mwine as the first interview in this series. And she also was saying that it takes a lot more work than you think to actually read all of these demos. And I just, what's interesting to me is now that I think about it, you almost, you have, when they talk about intellectual property, you have like your voice is intellectual property and your face is intellectual property, your personality is intellectual property. So this gets me to the next part of media industry, which is how do you protect your intellectual property?
So first of all, since we're discussing that deal, I was at university and one of the radio producers who worked with me, who I still despise still today, I'm not quite sure why I worked with him, they were auditioning, they were pitching to get the
Yes.
deal to do the voices for Wareed. And they were new in town and he got the deal, he got the pitch because of me. I was the voice that they wanted to use. So whichever studio ended up booking me, they were going with the studio. I was so stupid and young that I didn't even know how to maximize on that because I was the value. He wasn't the value. And when he got me, I think he paid me 3 million shillings for what should have been royalties till today. Yeah.
That is true because
no contract signed, word of mouth, paid in installments, mind you. And he must have made about hundreds of millions. Sorry, my son is oh, bunny. It's fine.
Okay.
So yeah, so I learned from there on that I need to not use my voice everywhere because what was promised to be just a one-off till today. Because what they do with when you're a voice prompt person, I mean, in the beginning, they even make you read 100. 200. So till today, even when the company was bought, my voice is still there.
Yeah.
You understand? So I will never get paid because I don't have a contract to run out and say, by the way, you paid me less than I was supposed to get paid or this and that. And I think I was lucky that when I did the English prompts halfway, I said, I don't even like the working relationship. I don't like you. So I'm not going to work for you anymore. And I think it was just the vibe. The energy was just wrong. Because now he was translate to Runyankore because you speak it and then do that on the same amount, but then I'll add a hand. And I was like, okay, something is off here. Let me stop working. And I think last minute they had to get some other voice to do it and the client wasn't happy. But I slowly, what I did is that because I didn't have the information on how to protect my intellectual property, I stopped doing certain work. Okay, and because I was like, until I am informed on how to protect myself, I won't work. So for like 2-3 years, I did not do any voice work. Nothing, nothing. And later on, I got with a studio who was doing documentaries, you know, for the UN and different things. And they said, your voice sounds perfect, let's do it. And in the year I was doing that, God is always good with his timing. I ended up working with South Africans who they had a process to these things.
Oh yeah.
So they said you register your voice first of all in a voice bank.
Yeah.
Which means when a client wants a voice, they click a voice bank. So you're competing with guys in I don't know which country, and they're competing with you. And once you're accepted, there's a rate. They can't go like the minimum wage, literally for voices. Then depending on the country you're in, there's an amount they have to add on because they're picking a voice all the way from Uganda versus Joburg. Then they have to pay you studio fees. Then they have to pay you per hour.
Yeah.
I was like, hold on, what? I've been underpaid for 10 years. But that's how I started to protect myself. So voice work now, I don't even do it that much. But when I do it, I'm really well paid. I'm paid the value.
Yeah.
So I guess over time, for example, like YouTube and stuff, I've just had a legal team because now I ventured into turning my brand into a business. So I ended up having to get a legal team on retainer to just say, look through all the contracts, even the influencer contracts, and make sure they're not taking my ideas and turning them into their ideas. Or paying me to be an influencer, but really they're asking me to be an ambassador. So look through the roles, see that I'm not being exploited. So now I'm grown and now I can, you know, have that information and that knowledge.
And you know, you just talked about, and I'm glad you walked us through kind of even just how you get paid for your value, because I think one of the challenges that we have at Engage and trying to tell people, even when you go to a job interview, you're coming with value. You need to wage that in terms of what benefits you're getting. You just can't say, sure, you gave me a job, it's okay. Like, you know, you can't be paid a certain amount of money and they're making you move to another country, they're making you, literally give up half your life, but just because they gave you and it has a dollar sign, we're good. Like, it can't be that. And so I that's why I think it was important for you to talk us through kind of intellectual property, because now intellectual property is not your degree anymore. You know what I mean? It's now becoming things that even you can't measure really, but you need to protect anyway. So that moves me a little bit to radio, because when I think from voice, I think like radio. So walk me through, one, how you got into radio. Also, I just want to know how your relationship with Amoti works, because I laugh so hard every single time I see your Instagram videos. So just walk me through kind of how you transitioned to radio and how it's been like co-star relationships, for sure.
So, I mean, now your audience is probably going to know, because this is the first time I'm speaking on how Amoti and I even know each other. This is the first time people see us work together, but they don't really know.
Yeah.
So radio, like I said, with Banji, he advised me to go into radio. And I remember a friend of mine then, Rachel K., who's now moved back into Uganda. I mean, I haven't seen her in ages, but yeah, wonderful, very talented. She was working at Hot 100, and we used to be friends. So she had just gotten the gig to work at Hot 100. And I said, wait, there's space? You just came from the States. I'm here. How come I didn't know about that? And she's like, no, you can come through. And I went and did the audition, and unbeknownst to me, they kept calling the phone to hire me.
Right.
And because I was like 17, 18. And my mom, I used to share a phone with my mom. My mom was like, people keep calling me from this radio. Like, I think I'm like, oh, a job. And I went, got hired, got given, actually, I got Saturday and Sunday to start off. And the boss, Aga Sekarala, said, you are brilliant. I need you to do whatever you are doing in school, be done with that, and I'll give you a prime show, because whatever this is, I'd like to nurture it.
Yeah.
And I think about 6 months in, there was an audition at Capital FM. And another colleague, Hakeem, he's called Hakeem the Dream, if anybody needs to know. Hakeem says, Flavia, they're looking for people here, come. You never know. And I was like, well, I have a job. He's like, you know, you have a job. This is like a job. So I was like, okay, cool. Because I was young, and Hot 100 was the cool station. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We played the latest music. We were cool, okay? And here was Capital, and they're talking like 50-year-olds. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be part of this crew. No, maybe later when I'm like in my 30s, I'll come to you. Yeah. So I went and auditioned, and the day I did my voice audition, the boss, who was then Bill Tibingana, wonderful, wonderful. I speak well of him because he really helped the trajectory of my radio career at the beginning. He says to me, you're brilliant. Come back. What are you doing? I said, Hot 100. They said, leave them. I said, well, what are you going to give me? And I think I gave him a hard time for like 3 days, because I told him, I thank you for the job, but I'm really not trying to leave. I was really serious. I said, I'm not trying to leave Hot 100. And he gave me the advice, which I speak of a lot. He said, if you want music, buy yourself an iPod. If you want a career, sign with me. And I signed.
You were like, well, you said it.
I was like, you get me. And I signed. And so I did the last years of my high school at Capital. They've literally nurtured me, to be honest. And I ended up doing the the weekend show, then the mid-morning show, which I do till now. And I've grown with the station, and I've done every other venture and every career away from radio. And they've allowed me grow. In fact, they say, what do you need? How can we help you? So for me, that's brilliant. Now, when I was working at Hot 100, which is owned by Aga Sekalala, he also owns Radio Simba, which is the more common radio station that everybody knows. Radio Simba is prominently in Uganda, and then Hot 100 was the English youth station that he had set up. So when I was working there, some of my colleagues included Amoti. So we used to always have a chat when we were having lunch and breakfast, and he was just a chill guy, you know, like we were cool. Like, he was just chill. He didn't really try too hard. He was Yeah. And so when I went to Capital, which now owns Beat FM, the Luganda station,
Yeah.
they hired him. So it was almost like we were cripping and following each other.
Yeah.
And so it was like, oh my God, you're here. Yeah, even you're here. Oh, cool. And so that's been our friendship so our friendship isn't that we call each other, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because also Amoti's nature is that he doesn't know where his phone is. But he's a great guy. Like, I understand him. He somehow understands me. So we work together really well. And yeah, it's just, as you see it, that's the friendship, to be honest.
The amount of times that you ask him like what words mean and he gives us like a whole left field answer is beyond me. We need I honestly, if you could make a skit of just you and Amoti that comes once a week, we will not complain.
People have asked for that. People have said, make it a TV show, make it a radio show, make it a segment, make it a what. And I said, you know what? He's got his own career as a comedian, successful, and he's doing his own things. I've got my own career. And what we do, I like authenticity. And I think anybody can tell from my content that it's me. And it's the reason why I get that much engagement and that much followers, because they know I'm not trying to make a killing out of them. They know I'm not trying to get something out of their pocket. In fact, if anything, I'll give before I get. So I said to them, this started as natural as possible. This was just a friendship between two people who are just doing something cool. And that's how it's going to stay forever. And we agreed with Amoti and actually said, we're not going to, we make money, because when I make money through my gigs as influencer, I try and tell him, do you want to latch onto this client so I can get you some cash or something? And I'd be like, yeah, cool. But we decided to not be money hungry. We decided to use it as a platform to just put our brands out there and just be happy. So it's been working for years. I don't think we're about to change it, to be honest.
I know, but it's worth the laughter every single time I find one. I'm just like, let's go back. I want to watch that one again. So you just ventured us into authenticity.
Yeah.
Now, how do we come from kind of you going through that overwhelming stage of kind of being you and being on TV to discovering the authentic you?
That is still a journey, to be honest. That's a journey I am still on. And I think the other day when we were chatting, I said to you that I'm not working on weekends.
Yeah.
And that's one of the little things that I'm putting in place to try and be authentic to myself, because even now, as I speak to you, I literally just walked into the door, got the laptop open and turned the Zoom on. That's how fast-paced my life is. I've not I've looked at my son, but I've not had a conversation with him.
Right.
I've come from one thing to the another. So it was very hard for me to sit and figure myself out, figure the good, the bad, what I like, what I don't. It's hard when you don't have time. And so I learned the hard way, because I was overwhelmed and I was borderline depressed. I went through a very, very low moment, and I told myself to pick yourself up, start with time. Just start with time. I even went for counseling. It's like, that's how far I took my sanity. Right. And so I started by saying, what about Saturday and Sunday? What is it that I have to do that is so important that I have to be dead to do it?
Right.
Nothing. Yeah. If you're dead, you're dead.
That's true.
Okay, so if I need this 2 days, I will get this 2 days. So like, I'll give an example. Like, after I leave this Zoom, I will do all the content creation that I need to do and uploads. And once the last upload goes up, I'm off social media.
That's it.
Do you understand? Like, until Monday morning, I'm not posting, I'm not doing nothing, I'm not answering an email, I'm not taking a meeting. I'm not, because it's good for my sanity. But that's because it took me a long time to discover what I needed. Authenticity takes a long time. It takes failing, learning. And so I don't know if there's anybody who can say they've learned authenticity. It takes a while. I'm on a journey. I mean, what I've done so far is maybe accepted myself. I accept who I am. I will not be Patricia. I'll not try to be Rachel. I'll not try to be Maria. I will be Flavia. How you take it, is up to you. Don't be giving me the, but you're famous, you should be the, no, 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 no. This is who I am. And people see
Right.
that, and people like that authenticity. They're like, okay, this she accepts herself, we better accept her. But the
Right.
journey of everything and discovery, I'm just starting. I'm honestly just
Right.
starting.
I mean, when I think of like, I will tell you, time. When you told me that you don't work on weekends, I was like, I know exactly what she's talking about. I cannot.
Mhm.
I have that personality of I need to get all these things done, and I almost forget that, like, when are you going to sit down and like breathe? When are you going to like be a human being? And just like you, like I think I'm now in like my 7th or 8th year of like consistent therapy, because and that's one thing that I talk about a lot. Like, there is no stigma about getting help,
Yeah.
no stigma about talking to
No,
somebody else, because
absolutely
you can
not.
drive yourself crazy without knowing.
Mm.
Especially if you're that person who's like, I'm efficient at doing that. I can do it for you in 10 minutes. And then you keep going and keep going until it's 9:30 in the night, but you have to work at 7 in the morning. Then what do? You just, cut
Mm.
your sleep in half. Um, and so that's one thing that I'm glad you talked about, because even with like with work, if you don't choose to draw the line between like when I get out of office at 5 p.m. on Friday, you're getting an email back on Monday. That is it. If you don't draw that line, your boss will email you on a Saturday and be like, you do this, you do that. Well, there's
Yes,
somebody getting paid probably even less than you or more and is not working all weekends. But for you, you're like in the gutters the entire weekend,
yes.
you know? Um, but when we're talking about time, how has you not working on weekends, like, how does that look like now? Are you getting more time for you? Do you feel like I don't know, you get more time to do things you like?
Um, to be honest, this is going to be my third week of doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
And obviously 3 weeks in, I've learned some things, but
yeah.
it's not fixed. There's no
Right,
magic pill to self-care. Self-care
right.
is every day until 2 years later, 3 years
Mm,
later, 5 years later.
yeah,
So now what's happening that I've realized is that every time I have the time to myself, I'm seeing who is clearly not good energy for me,
oh,
what's
yeah.
not working, where I'm
Mm,
failing, where my discipline fails, where my discipline is good,
mm,
what things I need to replace. This is, I think, for me, for the next maybe even more like 3 weeks, I will
right.
need to eliminate, add, eliminate, add, eliminate, add. And I've even like tomorrow, for example, I'm going to be attending a traditional wedding.
Mm,
And I know I'm going to go for it, but then I've already
mm.
told myself, you're going to be there for 2 hours and then leave.
That is
Doesn't
it.
matter if the cake hasn't been cut, if the bride hasn't done one. No, that's it. You said your thing is from this time to this time. If it doesn't happen, good for you. I am going. Okay.
Exactly.
And so I'm learning that I will give you time if I have said I will give you time, but
Mm,
how much time of my, so those are the little things that I keep noting down and saying, oh, okay, so that's what it means. I'll learn that.
yeah.
I'll take a meeting, but how important is this meeting? Or I will
Mm,
spend time with my son. What are we going to do? So I'm learning. It hasn't been easy because I've made a lot of mistakes where I say I'm
mm.
taking the weekend off, but then I have not slept the whole weekend.
Yeah.
And you're like, so what were you doing? You didn't,
So it was off, but you didn't take the time off.
so so then I thought to write down, oh, you were cooking, but you had help. So why didn't you let somebody help you cook? Oh, because I'm
Mm,
a perfectionist. So, okay, so are you a perfectionist or you're foolish? Ah, you are
mhm.
foolish. Okay.
You
So I'm
literally,
learning.
yeah, so you just talked about even just like, having your list. So I just read a book by Dr. Brene Brown, who I highly recommend. Please
Yes.
go check her out. And she, I take all her like leadership classes, but she talked about the what is okay and what is not okay to do to me, and that making that list. And
Yes.
so let's take a good like 2-3 minutes. If you were given a chance to do like a this is what is okay, this is what is not okay, what would you put on the what is not okay and what is okay? Just like 3 things that you can think of right now.
Mm, let's see. Well, first of all, I don't take calls after a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
It is not okay to call me at 10 p.m. I mean, I feel like I consistently take the same calls from the same people at that time. And that's it. If it's not my husband, it's my mother.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
That's about it.
So I'm like, unless I had an appointment, like, I mean, they're friends of mine who I know are not calling me every day, but they're
Right.
very close to me. So by the time they're choosing to call me at that time, then it's really important.
Right.
But anybody, and actually speaking of calls, another thing I do not like is when I am WhatsApped. We don't know each other, never
Oh,
met,
yeah.
never spoken. You're asking for a favor, and then you send me a WhatsApp. Now I understand Patricia is on the other side of the
On the
world.
other side of the world.
She's not gonna make a phone call just like that to Flavia, but you're in
Yeah.
Uganda, right? You're in Kampala,
Yes.
and you choose to WhatsApp me and said, "Hi, how are you?" Don't say who you are. Then you chill. Now you,
Oh, and don't introduce yourself.
yeah,
Don't do.
you don't know me, but I know you. I was
Oh,
hoping you can help me. I'm like, hold on. So you're asking for a favor and you didn't even bother to call me.
yeah.
So I'm always like, that's not going to happen. And then when it comes to work, I don't entertain work on WhatsApp unless we've had a conversation before. So if it's the first conversation, I'm like, this sounds like an email. I'm sorry. This sounds like an email. Once we've
I
had
see what that
rapport,
is. Yeah.
let's keep it WhatsApp if you want to. Let's call each other if you want to, because now we're already working together. But if it's
Exactly.
professional, keep it professional. If it's personal, keep it personal. So I'm learning how to draw those lines. Not everybody's happy with it, but I'm like, I'm happy with it. That's okay. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Yeah, and so those are things that I feel like don't do. And then what I'm learning to do now is to not have the hero mentality, because I was used to being a fixer. I was walking and I heard people saying they were unhappy about something, then now I've canceled the whole day. Now I'm sitting here finding out why you're not happy. Let's deal with it. You know, I just try to fix it. Before you know it,
The
I've
therapist in
wasted.
Flavia is just right
Thank
there to
you.
save.
Thank you. So now I've learned how to say politely, I would have loved to really help you out, except I don't have the time, period. But no, really, where is that time between my son, my work, myself, and my family? Where is the time? Do you
That
know
is
what I mean?
true. That is
So
true.
before it was always remove one thing for somebody else,
For
but now
something
for me to
else.
even do that, it
Mm,
needs to be worth it. For me to like say, I will not see my son for 1 hour for you. Think about that. I will exchange seeing my son for you.
you're right.
And then most times it's people who are needing your time. So I'm like, so wait, you want me to sit and listen to your problems, but you want to understand that I need to be with my family.
Right. And I think that's the cost of being empathetic. And you can tell me if you relate with this. I take
Yeah.
on emotions from other people a huge lot. Like if somebody is in tears, I'm like, oh God, I'm in tears too, you know? But the problem with that is you're always giving, but there's no one else to replenish your cup. And if you don't
Yes.
choose the things that replenish your cup, you can be dwindling away. And when you're at rock bottom, very few hands do you see reaching down to you at rock bottom. And that's kind of when the boundaries become a serious thing, right? And you have to
Yeah.
just say, you know what, I can't do this. I would have loved to, but you know, something as big as choosing your son over somebody is a big thing, and people should be able to understand it. Like that, the empathetic you would for another person, but that person wouldn't understand it for you. Very mind blowing to me. How do these relationships work?
I'll never forget this. When I was on my maternity leave, it was literally in the middle of lockdown, like proper lockdown. And so I made a choice to stay online and empower people and say, everybody's home. Let's not lose hope. Let's not die out. I'm here. And that was a personal choice for me. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And then this one young lady who I had worked with before, out of the goodness of my heart, because I understood her project and it was very wonderful, comes and says, oh, hi, I noticed you're doing great work online. I need you to help me. We're doing something with the youth. I'm like, okay, I don't even understand what this is. Do you want to email me so I can look at it, think on it? And then, because obviously my time, I have a 2-month-old baby, I really can't think straight. Actually, I think even my son was 1 month old at that point. And it says, yeah, sends me an email. I look through it and it just sounded like you,
Exactly.
you.
There you
My
go.
instinct said it's not working.
Right.
And I said, I want to help you because when you say youth and women, that's it for me. It's a trigger. I want to
Right.
help. However, this just has come in when a lot is already happening. So for me to do that video is going to be hard. But if you can wait and I think on it, I'll get back to you. That's exactly what I said. And this person held me ransom, kept calling me, kept texting me, but you said you'll do it. I said, you didn't even bother to listen.
Exactly.
You didn't even bother to listen. 6 conversations later, with all my postpartum stress and everything, I'm like, do you not remember I have a newborn child? When I choose to go on my platforms, it's a choice. No, I understand. I'm like, no, you don't. You're saying one thing and you're doing another.
Yeah.
This person hangs up after saying, I totally understand, Flavia. Take your time. Hangs up. An hour later, calls. I'm like, what is it? Okay, can you recommend other people? I'm like,
people understand a lot different.
Having time to do it, I now should go and do your job.
Basically.
So yeah, it's I can't explain it.
You just explained one of the skills that I say is like conflict resolution is one of the hardest skills to learn. But when you learn it, you realize how you've not been listening at all when people talk and you've just been getting what you want. That's basically what is happening. Okay. You can't just get everything you want. And I will say, like, working with variety of people is usually once you get somebody to work with you, you hope for some miracle that they say yes. But when they say yes, then I feel like, and I've worked with a lot of people who do this, they start setting the bar higher and higher and higher. And they're like, but you can do and this and this. And you're like, but you asked for one thing, now you're asking for 5.
Yeah.
I can only give you number 1. Can you understand that? No. You said yes. Once the yes was said, now everything has to be mine, right? Let's turn to a topic that I know you love talking about, which is your son. How has it been? First of all, was it a little bit nerve-wracking, like having your son during lockdown?
Not really. The lockdown wasn't the problem. How can I explain? Because, okay, for me, my pregnancy was, and I've learned how to change the way I speak because my words become life.
Right.
Because I've seen how my son is, he's quite strong. I'm like, it explains why my hormones were playing some little circus on me. But I had really bad allergies that I had to be on hormone treatment. When my son was about 8 months into the belly. And I was told I had to be induced because they couldn't help me. And at any point, I could have just suffocated and died because of my allergies. And so they said, okay, you've carried, let's just save the baby for now. And so the turmoil, they're thinking of so many things at that time didn't help. So if it was locked down under different circumstances, it would have been like, oh, we get to be home. But it was, I couldn't access doctors because, oh, I'm not working, or I don't have a permit to go and to the hospital. Then I had to work with experts, and then you have to do a Zoom call with your skin doctor because, so what's happening today? I can't see you clearly. Okay, but hold on, your connection. So the lockdown pretty much froze everything from normal. So I think that was what was affected. You go to the hospital, you can't find a doctor. My gynecologist, who's really become family, who delivered my son, Dr. Joseph, couldn't leave the hospital. So he was sleeping in the hospital. And so I'm telling Dr. Joseph, are you not going to doze off while delivering my baby because you're exhausted? But he's got to take the flak for other doctors who are not able to come in. So the effects of the lockdown, that made it extremely hard for you to access anything in the country. But I mean, other than that, in hindsight, it gave
Yeah.
me a chance to be private, which is what I wanted. I didn't want everybody swarming over
Being in your
me and
face about
trying.
it.
Yeah, yeah. So that
You
worked.
know, you know the one thing that my mother, so I'll tell you the most weird thing my mom did when she had me and my brother. We never went to a public anything for the first 2 years of our lives, each of us, and we're back to back babies. And she was dead serious about it. People thought it was a joke, but she was just like, no, my kids are not going anywhere. I will sit home with
Yeah.
them. That's it. But now when I think about like people who like privacy, she is that person. Like she just wants, let's be home.
Good. I like
It
that.
doesn't, it doesn't always have to be in people's faces. But talk
Mm.
to us a little bit about the change from being just you and your husband to now having another person to think about. How has
You know,
that been?
I think a lot of people told me how there'll be so much change in the marriage because we have a
Yeah.
child. I don't think there's a change in the marriage at all. We
Mhm.
still interact with each other the same way, to be honest. But
Right.
then also, we were friends for so many years. So I
Yeah.
guess there's not much to be, I don't know, cool about or something. We're just
Right.
normal human beings.
Yeah.
But I feel like my son has changed me in terms of my work because there's my husband and then there's my work. Okay.
Hmm.
So I put in a lot of effort in my marriage, but I also put in a lot of effort into my work.
Mm.
And so obviously one had to change. And so I come back home exhausted. And he's running like, putting his arms up for me. And I'm like, oh my God, give me 30 minutes. And then I'm like, wait. This is my child. Why
Yeah.
should he give me 30 minutes? Never mind. And so I'm learning how to, for the first time in my career, say no to offers on the table,
Yeah.
set working times. Me, I used to be the chick who a meeting is at what time? 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. Whatever
Mm.
works for you. Do you want to do 5? I would never look like
Wow.
6 a.m.
Yeah.
No. If you were an important client, even 6
Yeah.
a.m. will be at a breakfast meeting. Yeah. Fly here for this. Yes. Because there was no limits. There was no boundaries to my career.
Mm-hmm.
Work overtime. If it needs to get done, let's do it. Now I'm like, oh my God, I'm just like other normal people. I need to like set times to stop working, times to end
Mm-hmm.
working. I can't take on more than I used to because I used to be the chick who would take on every client, every job, everything, every assignment, and then do the neighbor's assignments. Now I'm like, when I get tired, when I was single, I could just get on the bed and just fall and just sleep and
Yeah.
wait for the alarm. Now, I'll tell you, for example, my son has been teething and he
Yeah.
won't sleep perfectly
Mm.
well. And so I can't put my alarm on because I have meditation sounds.
Right.
And I can't put on my meditation sounds for deep sleep because what if I can't hear him?
Right.
So now automatically that has changed too. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like I
wow.
can't sleep.
Yeah.
Like I have to sleep with like one eye open.
When I open, and like anytime.
Yeah. So those are the changes, but I think it's just a matter of acceptance and accepting that this is something I wanted, and I'm excited to be able to share that because a lot of women want that opportunity to become mothers and aren't graced that opportunity. So it's a privilege for me to be in this position.
Right. I mean, also, have you heard this? And I know this is a question my sister wanted to know. How different is it when you have a boy versus like having a girl? Like she has mini hers. She has two girls and it's like chaotic every day. But she's wondering, like, oh, mom's two boys. Is it different?
Okay, well, I mean, I can't compare, obviously.
Oh yeah, because
But because I think because we're women and we're raised as girls in a certain
Mhm.
way, we can easily take care of girls because they mirror us. I don't know if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
Like I was asking my husband that like, why is he running around so much? Like why he's like crawling into everything, he's like picking up everything, he's pushing
Yeah.
everything, he's slapping
Mhm.
it. I'm like, what's happening? And he's like, that's normal. I'm like, is it? He's like, yeah, that's how guys are. I'm like, see, I would never have known that. Do you see what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, because for me, I'm like, the minute you're school going, I'm putting you in basketball, piano, tennis, everything. Because
Oh
this
wow, just
energy,
sign up for everything.
No. But and then my husband is like, nah, this is cool. This is nothing. I'm like, this is nothing. So it's the difference is that the energy levels for boys, you've got to match up a lot, like a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because I will tell you, my brother is now 25. The energy doesn't go down. I'm not gonna tell you it goes down. And I mean, I'm talking about like a full-time athlete, like should be exhausted, gets home. My poor mother turned 60 this year and she's still getting like the guy who wants to punch with her and wants to sing with her and dance. She's like, I want to sleep though. Like, can we go to bed? Like,
Oh,
no, that's not her. That's not him. No, it keeps going. It's a vicious cycle.
I'm
So
ready.
those piano classes, you better start finding the teachers,
Oh,
swim.
trust me, I'm ready. I'm ready. Everything is aligned. We've got like 30 classes waiting for him.
Anytime now. You know what?
Hmm.
Child protege. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so now that life has changed a lot for you for sure. But I think now even your career is kind of morphing into something different, I have to say. So why did you make the decision to move the direction that you're going? And can you just walk us through some of the projects you're doing and things like that?
I was an influencer before COVID, and um, before my pregnancy, I'd already started. I'd made a plan to really venture so much into content creation and see how that goes, to see if I could turn that into, because I love branding. And for me, I was like, okay, if there's a way I can merge it into what I want to do, then let me do that.
Yeah.
When COVID happened, it was such an opportunity because now my YouTube channel had a reason for why it was there. My
Right.
Instagram content had a reason why it was there. And I said, okay, now, no looking back. Just keep going, 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 going. And now more than ever, I'm like, okay, I've got to sign up for that class. I've got to get that app. I've got to pay for this. Like now I'm really into the business
Yeah.
because I'm trying to see that people who don't know or don't listen to my radio show, don't watch me on the news, do they still follow me? I'm like, yeah, which means I can create a whole new career, a
That's
whole
true.
rebrand with just the content. So that's where I'm trying to heavily go. And so I set up my business arm, which is Reach Brands, because I said there's no point in now hiring Flavia Tumusiime because I want to be able to do a consultancy role or arm, help other brands do what they can. And
Right.
so I have to start today, to do that slowly, write down the
Right.
tools that have helped me and in the future be able to share those. And
Right.
so, yeah, that's where I've pivoted.
Right. It's so interesting because I never would have thought you'd go into consulting just because your brand is you. Like it's kind of like if we don't get you, are we really getting the real thing? But I do
Yeah,
see where you're saying in terms of like you're almost like a blueprint that can be shared
exactly.
with other people. So I do see where that would, make a lot of sense. Do we get to hear about the new digital, I can't pronounce the name of the app, the one that came out
Oh,
this week?
transi is kind of like a slang in Uganda where people, instead
Oh,
of saying transport,
transit, that's what it is. I was like, I cannot pronounce this thing. What does it say?
like transi. I'm like, nah, it's just transport. Transi, literally, it's a
Transit,
slang
that's
in
it.
Uganda.
Keep it
Yeah.
original.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So digital transi is an idea that came right like around March, so literally before the COVID lockdown.
Right.
Our other partner, who's actually the software developer, had done something for the country in terms of COVID, and he had this app created, and he was like, okay, we need to launch this, we need to sit down and do this. So my husband, who was actually the first director with him, they wanted to launch, but this buy Uganda, build Uganda concept. A lot of people don't like it because of quality and how there's not so much detailing. And
Yeah.
so my husband and him sat down and they wanted to do something authentic for Ugandans and said, what are the
Right.
frustrations we have for cab services in Uganda? What can we fix? Most
Right.
importantly, can we give a product where the drivers are making money, but also the client doesn't feel like they have to fork so much money just to get from one destination to another.
Yeah.
And so they came up with the idea of a subscription base. So I pay a certain amount, and I'm in. My app is open and I can drive. And it's my hours because it's my effort. If I want to make money for
Right.
2 hours, I do. Sleep
Right.
the next two, work the next two. It's up to you. Nobody's clocking in and saying, give me 10%, give me 20% of your earnings. No.
Exactly.
Once you pay your subscription for the day or for the month,
Yeah,
everything you earn is yours.
it's yours.
You know, because we realized that a lot of people had their cars sitting in COVID and realized that that's the one
That's so
thing I don't make money from.
Mhm.
I said, well, a lot of people are walking, as you realize, they don't have the cars. So make money, do you understand? And support
Yeah.
Ugandans, because a lot of these other competition are coming from other countries in and bringing software in. But this is a Ugandan made, Ugandan created with a Ugandan
Right.
team. And so
Right.
I came on board to bring my expertise of communication, and I'm also a director. So yeah, at some
Please
point,
tell me that they take Visa
about
cards. If they take
data.
Visa cards, that's the first app I'm getting.
Yes, we do. And I have actually yesterday I was talking to a friend of mine who's in the States who's like, when we come home, that's the app. That's the
it.
app. I'm like, oh my God, I'm glad to hear
I'm
that.
as long as you can take a Visa, because I'm just like, I'm done with the
Yeah.
stress of not taking Visa. Like, as long as it's
And
done.
actually that was a big problem for the competition, was saying, oh, if you don't have cash. But I guess that's what we try to mitigate with the
Right.
drivers happy. Because I mean, if the drivers are not happy, do you know what I mean? They'll take the frustration off on the clients. And you don't want to be
That is
sitting in
very
a
true.
car and the person is like, oh, I don't like this job, or I don't like this. I mean, you don't even have the energy you don't stay in their car. So we wanted the drivers happy, so that when you walk into a car, the person is excited to take you to a destination. I mean, they're talking to you friendly. Where do you want to go? No problem, because it's their time, their money. So they're
That's
taking
true.
it seriously. Do you know what I mean? They're not milking money to another company or to give it to Flavia or to Kabura. No, they're making their money. So they're more than excited to take you wherever you're going.
Right. And this makes me think of like, there's not a lot of companies that are like just giving Ugandans another form of employment that is not the usual 9 to 5, because you know what, 9 to 5 is gonna run out. Like the amount of people can live off a 9 to 5, it's coming to an end. That generation was for our parents. Now we're like, no, we can't do this anymore. We need a second, third income to like make ends meet. So that's what this company makes me think about. Should we expect a book sometime?
Yes. Not this year, clearly.
No, but I said sometime. It could be the next 10 years, since you're good at this 10-year span thing.
It's probably not going to be 10 years, to be honest. It will be sooner, because I got both the title and the story to tell. I tried writing a book maybe 3 years ago, and I wasn't happy because I sat down with the publisher and they're starting to, oh, but you tell this part of your story. And I said, no, I'm not ready.
Oh, that's
so
true.
Now I think I am ready. I just need to, because it's sort of like what I wanted to share is life lessons, right? So the life lessons have just dropped. So now I need to live them and see the consistency, and then be able to share and say, if A happens to you, you go this way, you go that way, and you get this. So it's coming sooner than later.
Then we think. It's so, introverts are not people who you get to write a book. So I'm surprised that you were just like, I'll do it. I'll step out of my comfort zone.
Because for me, I think I found my calling. I think my calling is to demystify life for people. And I only figured that out when I did my YouTube channel, because for me, it's not about being famous. I think my calling genuinely is to change lives, is to get people to see things differently. I think God just bestowed upon me every lesson that I learned just to be able to change someone else's mindset, period. So for me, if it's a book, I'll write it. If it's a YouTube channel, I'll do it. If it leads me to something else, I'll do it.
That brings me to the big question. Do you think, as of right now, that you have been successful?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Based
Why?
on my calling, yes.
Yes.
Before, I used to measure success on money. I used to measure success on the gifts that I got. I used to measure success on who I associated with. And that never gave me the fulfillment that I was looking for, the self-actualization they speak of. until I started my YouTube channel. And just when I would say something and people are like, thank you, I was about to go into that ditch. I know better now. You just saved me. Thank you. I was about to go crazy and go into a depression, trying to figure that part of life out. You've saved me. Once I figured that I could change someone's life, I was successful. That's it.
That's powerful right there. So if you were given success versus greatness right next to each other, would you say they're the same thing? Would you say they're different?
They are, I feel like success is, I think greatness is what you crave. It's what you yearn for. I feel like greatness is that little pull that, you know, you feel tugging at you when you're trying something.
Right.
Anything. You just feel the need to either try more or less. That's a lack of or having it.
Right.
That's greatness. Saying, no, don't do it like everybody does it.
Right.
Or no, don't stay there. That's comfortable. That's greatness tagging at you. And in everything you do, greatness is always saying, you know, if you tried it this way, you could be like big. You know, if you tried it this way, you could be great at it.
True.
A lot of people are happy being good at it, because when greatness tags, they're like, nah, that's too much, or that's too, no, that's too hot. I don't want it. So I feel like greatness tags at you. Hey, Bunny. I'm happy. We're about to be done.
Yeah.
But success is just how far you have gone. So I feel like when you give yourself goals and say, in the next 2 years, I should do this.
Yeah.
Success is easy. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I said.
For example, someone can say, I want to get married and I want to have kids. They get married, have kids, but they're not great at marriage and parenting.
Yeah.
So success is easy. It's just, did you get it? Yeah, I got it. Great.
Cool. Check the box.
Yeah, but greatness, it tugs at you, but not everybody gets there. Not everybody gets to greatness.
Right. I know there's like, we interviewed Matthias Kiwanuka, he's a first Ugandan NFL player, and he was saying that good is the greatest enemy of great. Yeah. And I didn't understand that for a minute. I was like, did you just throw something my way and I didn't get it? But now you just said it. We're very okay with like sitting in a pool of mediocrity.
Yeah. I'm successful.
Very comfortable. I made it, kind of. But like, you know, what happens next? So we're about to come to the end, but there's one question, and I know you're going to want to think about this, but what advice would you have given yourself, your younger self, like between like 14 and 18? What advice would you give?
14 and 18 would be have fun. Good Lord, I missed it. I'm trying to get it back at 32, 33, so it's sad. I would have said, listen, you're skinny, so eat as much as you can, because you'll fight with the weight later. So I would have said, just have fun. Listen to the music, like it, hate it, make friends, ditch them. I mean, just have fun, which I never did. So 14 to 18, have a blast.
Okay, let's say 20s for us, the 20 people.
In my 20s, I would have said, build a foundation for everything. Build a foundation for your relationships, build a foundation for your career, build a foundation for your money. Literally build a foundation, because a lot of what you stand on in your 30s, 40s is what you laid in your 20s. So if you found very good friendships and you healed in your 20s, they carry you. If you understood your intimate relationships very well in your 20s, they carry you. If you understood your weaknesses and your strengths in your 20s, they carry you. So I would have said, build a good foundation. Build a good foundation. Don't learn how to work your CV in your 30s. Don't learn the experience they talk about. How much experience do you have? When you see Flavia today at 32 and you say, oh my gosh, she's achieved so much, it's because she came laying the foundation. You won't start then. Take all the rubbish, take all the people talking to you ill, because it's a foundation for the greatness. So
For
in
the
your
greatest
20s,
good.
just build what will carry you later.
That's true. Oh, that's such a powerful place to stop. I'm so grateful for you, Flavia. Thank you for doing this. I'll be reaching out via email in a few days for just sending you this recording because I bet you want it.
Yes.
But I will let you go back to being a mother. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great evening, and we
Thank you for your
appreciate you.
time. Bye.
Bye.